Today I'm going to be talking about the new insulation system that we have developed for stator bars in hybrid generators. The new system that has been developed is operating at an increased electrical stress, so it's a reduced insulation build, and we've been able to achieve that by using, with a judicious use of new filled materials. Why would we want to operate at an increased stress? Well, while it's very hard for insulation people to actually acknowledge it, insulation in a hydro generator is actually just waste space. It's necessary, but it uses up the space that is required by active materials. And so that's part of the loss that is associated with the machine. So if we can reduce the insulation that we use within the system, we can end up with new machines that are smaller in size than the older machines would be. We can give increased uprates on rewind machines, and we can also reduce the copper loss in the machine. That results from having more copper in the slot due to the less insulation, and therefore we have higher efficiency. Also, a thinner insulation has an improved heat transfer from the copper to the core of the machine, so therefore the new machines actually run a little bit cooler than the older designed. And when we talk about that, what we're actually meaning is that if we can actually take 20% of the insulation out of the system, we can impact the cost of the new machine by somewhere between 5 and 15%. Now, when we say the new machine, we mean the entire generator. They're talking about steel and punchings, we're talking about copper and bars, we're talking about thrust bearings, the whole shot. So the whole machine cost comes down. We can give an equivalent increased uprate of about 15%. In the case of a rewind. And we can also affect the efficiency, depending on how you want to split things up, we can affect the efficiency to the tune of about 5 to 8%. So it makes a big difference to make a small change in the insulation. What are some of the criteria that we need to do when you design a new system? I think this is very similar to designing any new system. First, you establish your goals, try and figure out what you want to do. You try and understand what it is that's a roadblock in the system that you have to getting there. And then you have to look at the cost of the system. If you design a new system and it's going to cost 3 times more than the old system, you won't sell very many. And then, of course, the new system has to meet all of the industry standards. One thing that we can't stress enough is that to achieve an increased stress on an insulation system, you can't just get there by taking insulation out. And that is not what we did at all. To get there, you have to understand what you're doing. You need to understand the electrical stress itself, and you need to use enhanced materials to give you the performance that you require. So it just really is not a matter of simply reducing the build. In the evaluation, like I said earlier, we needed to identify the roadblocks to getting to the new system. And then we did a significant amount of work on understanding the electrical stress, and then of course we had to develop the filled materials that were required to enhance the corona resistance of the new system. I'll talk a little bit about the roadblocks. The roadblocks from the existing system to achieving the reduced build were primarily in the end grading region, and the reasons for that were that the insulation compaction in this region is a little poorer than it is in the slot portion because it sits outside of the normal shape aids. The taping, of course, around the bend portion of the stator bar is a little poorer than it is in the slot portion, so it affects the performance of the end grading region. And also operation at increased stress increases the circulating current through the grading, and therefore you get extra heating. And that proved to be a fairly major difficulty in getting to the reduced build. So when we were finished, we ended up with a new system, a new design system, using the existing materials for the grading, and we also had to modify the process that we used to apply them.